Hello everyone, my name is Michael Sever and I'm honored to present our paper, Realistic Hands, a hybrid model for 3D hand reconstruction. One of the primary objectives for VR systems is to create immersive experiences that blur the line between real and virtual. As VR headsets become more sophisticated, these boundaries gradually vanish. One of the remaining challenges is to seamlessly bring one's own hand into the virtual world. With the shift to inside-out tracking for VR headsets, cameras are now integrated directly in the headsets and no external sensors are required. This creates a new opportunity for vision-based hand tracking as a principal interaction mode, similar to modes that can already be found on AR headsets. The difference though is that VR headsets completely replace the real-world view. Thus, there's the additional need to represent the hands in the virtual environment. A drawback of current systems is that they represent hands in a generic and impersonal way and therefore limit the sense of embodiment that is crucial for an immersive experience. To overcome this, we propose to use head-mounted cameras to reconstruct personal hands. Our goal is not only to reconstruct the pose, which is currently done by systems, but also the shape and the appearance, which includes the texture. What are the challenges involved with this problem? First, hands are highly articulated and therefore we have to deal with many degrees of freedom. Secondly, we have to deal with a lot of ambiguities, as all fingers have similar appearance, which makes it hard to distinguish between them. Next, there is occlusion. Especially in an egocentric setting such as ours, we are faced with a lot of self-occlusion by the palm or forearm that can completely conceal the fingers. Extreme cases of occlusion happen when objects are grasped. Because hands are non-rigid entities, this is an extremely difficult challenge to overcome. Also, humans exhibit a lot of variation in their size and shape, which we need to account for. Another challenge is that we move our fingers and hands very quickly, which leads to motion blur that can cause the illusion of the important contours around the fingers. Finally, there's the challenge of limited data, which is also one of the reasons why hand shapes have not been extensively explored yet. Most datasets include only a few participants and capture only a tiny part of the hand shape variance. Also, the previously mentioned occlusion and self-similarity negatively impacts the accuracy of automatic annotation procedures, so the ground truth annotations are not always corresponding to the ground truth. On the other side, although synthetic data can be helpful, they do come with their own problems, such as the obvious domain gap. Luckily, these challenges have been thoroughly studied in the related field of 3D pose estimation and 3D hand reconstruction itself. Given the time constraints, I will not talk about the related work explicitly and instead refer to the paper for detailed insight into the respective research fields. On a high level, most 3D hand pose estimation methods can be categorized as either optimization or learning-based. While the first have promising results, they tend to be slower and sensitive to the chosen initialization. The deep learning-based methods are in theory more powerful as they don't rely on a sparse set of features. However, in practice, one-shot prediction leads often to mediocre image model alignment. For 3D hand reconstruction, there's a similar trade-off between model-based and model-free approaches. While model-based are more robust, for example to the mentioned occlusion challenge, they are not as expressive as model-free approaches. What we try to achieve with our hybrid approach is to combine the positive properties of the different approaches in a sensible and meaningful manner. Our proposed method tackles the problem as follows. We start with a video and extract for each frame bounding boxes to obtain RGB hand crops and generate a keypoint heat map by encoding each of the 21 joints by 2D Gaussians. Our proposed method outputs a 3D hand mesh from these inputs. We achieve this by processing the input with a deep encoded decoder to obtain mano and camera parameters. The former can be used to extract a hand mesh. Additionally, our decoder outputs a segmentation mask that acts as optimization target for a differential rendered silhouette of the hand mesh. We do not only optimize the pose and the shape parameters, but also iteratively refine the vertex position itself. The resulting good image model alignment allows to project a texture map from the input image to render a realistic 3D replication. Let's continue with a more detailed overview of the just presented monocular architecture. As mentioned, both input modalities, the hand crop and the joint heat map, get encoded by respective ResNet-based encoding heads before we fuse them and jointly process them further. The fusion is based on a self-supervised model adaptation that can selectively emphasize more informative features from each modalities. In other words, it can adaptively recalibrate and fuse according to spatial location. From the encoded representation, we request the parameters of the used Mano hand model, which yields a hand mesh. Together with the camera parameters, we can render a hand silhouette. From the encoded representation, we also decode a hand segmentation, which acts as an optimization target. In other words, we iteratively optimize the silhouette by adding offsets to the predicted parameters to improve the image model alignment. If a good fit is achieved, we project the texture from the input image and render a hand mesh. So how do we train the network? We employ a multi-stage training procedure where we freeze different parts of the model and selectively remove components from the information flow. The just presented monocular architecture can also be extended towards a stereo setting for more robustness. We do this by duplicating the monocular architecture for the second camera. Additionally, we predict stereo weights, which are used to fuse the parameters of the two views. For example, if a joint is self-occluded in the right view, the exact location is not recoverable and we have to rely on predicting likely locations. However, if the specific joint is visible in the left view, the network has now the power to compensate for the lack of information by utilizing the left image. This is already to a short overview of qualitative results and comparisons. Our method features good image model alignment, as one can see. We also compare against other top-ranked methods in the freehand online competition. This Mano model-based method by Assan et al. Suffers from hand shape parameter blowup and also struggles heavily with the image model alignment. In contrast, I2L is a model-free approach that directly predicts vertices. Although this method has very good image model alignment, it is not as robust as our method. Especially the fingers tend to be overly flat, as one can see in the mesh comparison. Thank you for your attention, and please refer to our paper for more detailed results.